there were a lot of volunteers. I see some familiar faces in here right now, even from the campaign. So there was a lot of support from the Rock County, Janesville area during the campaign, and I really appreciated that then, and it's great to see you all here now. Gatherings like this, I think, are really important as we continue this struggle. The campaign is actually a lot of fun. I think people are surprised to hear me say that. But, you know, never having run before, I had no idea what to expect, and actually my expectations were very low. I thought that, you know, there would be lots of mudslinging, and I just expected this total, utter nightmare. And really it wasn't. It was, you know, I got to meet a lot of really interesting people that I never would have met otherwise, and we really did have a lot of fun. What was not fun was feeling like I was being outspent all the time. And I was outspent all the time. I raised over $250,000 for state senate. Those were largely small donations. Our average donation was $30. So we had a lot of small donors who pitched in, and that was really heartwarming, and that was a lot of fun. But through various channels, I was outspent, you know, in the books that are legal and you can go and look up at the GAV, and then also in other ways that we don't even know how much money was spent. So I just want to talk a little bit, I just want to give you tonight just a brief overview of kind of what my experience was like as a candidate. I think we can all like read the numbers until we feel like we're going to fall asleep, but I just kind of want to tell you how I felt and what my experience was like, and then also, you know, some ideas about what I think we might do next. The first thing that I was amazed by as a new candidate was the amount of time that I was expected to spend fundraising. You know, I thought being a candidate was going out and meeting people and knocking on doors and writing speeches, and it was all of that. But also I had a volunteer who had fundraising experience, and she scheduled me every day time to sit down at a phone and call, and it was called call time. And you might have heard there was a piece on NPR fairly recently about call time. And in the US Capitol, I guess there's like an office building across the street from the Capitol, and they go and they sit in their little offices and they call and ask for money. And then they hang up and they call someone else and ask for money. And fortunately, you know, since this was a really kind of cobbled together campaign and I really was doing a lot of stuff myself, sometimes I like ducked down on call time, didn't really do call time, and still the donations kept coming. My opponent a couple of times said things that made donations come in without my really doing a whole lot of work, so that was helpful. But in general, I think most candidates, well, like this morning I was meeting with Mark Buchan in Madison, and while we were talking, his phone alarm went off and it said call time, you know, and so good candidates are expected to do call time every day, and that is a huge, it's a huge drain on your time, you know, because you want to be spending your time out meeting people who are not on your side, so you can convince them to come and vote for you, not talking to people who already agree with you, and that's what really call time is. So, in that aspect, I think money in politics is, you know, it's a negative thing because it takes time away from when you could be out meeting people. I want to talk a little bit about what that money can buy. Before I became a candidate, I thought that money in politics meant you could buy lots of TV ads. And it was just a matter of how many TV ads you can buy. And to a large extent, that's true. The more money you have, obviously, the more TV you can buy, the more radio ads you can buy, the more paid people you can pay to go around and knock on doors. It's like you've got a megaphone, and it gets really big when you have a lot of money. But I learned as a candidate that possibly more important than that is all the stuff that the public doesn't really see. And the main thing to me is messaging. And messaging is what a candidate says. And you probably all know Governor Walker's message. What did he say time and again? He said, it's working. He said it time and time again. Scott Fitzgerald said it time and time again. Their message was, it's working. It's 3 syllables long. It's very simple. It cuts through everything. It wasn't true, but they kept saying it, and they kept saying it. And I found when I would knock on people's doors, they would say, well, it's working. You know, like people would say it back to me. So it was a very effective, clear message. But I don't think Scott Walker came up with that message. I think that that message came from a good ad agency in LA, or Washington, D.C., or New York City. I don't think that message originated in Wisconsin. I think a lot of money paid for a lot of focus groups and marketing people to sit around and talk about what would be a good message. And that was something that I really felt like I lacked. You know, we were good-hearted people, and we had a lot of smart people sitting around trying to figure out what our message would be, but it's nothing like having the best ad agency in the United States figuring out what the message is going to be. So I don't know who did their messaging work, but they were good. And so that's just another thing that I felt like money can buy that people don't see. Money also, I don't want to preach to the choir, but I assume you all know about ALEC. Yeah, so that's another thing that money buys, is it buys legislation that then legislators, when they're running for office, can point to, you know, we have this legislation and here we've got all this analysis, so it's going to work, and that's something that an incumbent coming in without money doesn't have. So all of those things kind of combine to really be huge. The other thing that I thought was really interesting in the recall election was what Americans for Prosperity was doing. I don't know if anybody saw the video. They had buses touring Wisconsin. Their bus tour started, I think, in Jefferson. And I can't imagine what it cost. I heard the buses cost $250,000 each bus. So the total amount of money I raised in my campaign was spent to trick out this bus and make it all posh, and they bussed in college students from Illinois, and everybody had cell phones. Not sure who paid for the cell phones. Everybody had, from the video, it looked like they had tablets, like iPads. And this is clearly illegal, the stuff they were doing, because they had photos of Governor Walker, they had photos of Governor Clayfish. Not sure what's going to happen to them. I heard that one of my volunteers filed a complaint because what they did was absolutely illegal by Wisconsin law. You cannot advocate for a candidate without being registered with the GAB. So haven't heard yet. That complaint was filed in July, and there's still been no word on what they're going to decide. So it's something to keep in mind heading into the fall election, that money is going to be spent, vast sums, in this, that's just kind of dark money. We don't know where it comes from. And so what do we do? You know, I mean, that's probably why you all are here. And I think we all, at least I know and a lot of my friends have been thinking all summer long about, you know, what's next for us. And I think Move to Amend is an interesting project. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work. I personally am not even going to think about Move to Amend until after the elections, because I know if we can elect President Obama, I've heard that up to 4 Supreme Court justices could be retiring in the next 4 years. So if we have Obama's appointing Supreme Court justices, that would go a long way to getting this overturned. If Romney is elected, then I think we'll all be working on Move to Amend, because I think it's probably the only way out, or a similar project. Also, is everyone here familiar with the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign? If you're not, I would really encourage you to get on their mailing list. They just sent out an email yesterday. They're really working to modify Wisconsin's disclosure laws. They have a big effort they're doing right now. I think it's called, like, Call It What It Is, End Legalized Bribery. And so you can add your name to their petition, and I assume they'll have other events leading up to the election. But if you've ever heard Mike McCabe speak, he's fantastic, and you know that. If you haven't heard Mike McCabe speak, next time you get an opportunity, is he coming here?
Not here, in Whitewater.
Oh, okay, Thursday, October 18th, he'll be speaking on money and politics. We have a little group called Drinking Liberally. I personally don't drink, but I like being around people who do drink. And we get together the first Thursday of every month, and he came to one of our meetings, and we had a great turnout, and he gave a really good talk. If you ever get a chance to go see him.
He has been here to previous year.
Yeah, and he might come again. He came twice. He's come twice in 1 year to our, or maybe a year and a half or so, to our Drinking Liberally. So hear
Yeah,
him
I
talk and
went
get
to
involved.
those extras in my past.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll leave it with the other stuff. So, does anybody, I wanted to talk just a little bit, but mainly give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. I know Jim was going to start talking about 7, but we've got about 10 minutes if you have any questions. No, okay. So, does anybody have any questions for me about?
Where do you meet?
Oh, for drinking Woodley, we meet at the Cafe Carp in Atkinson.
What night, Thursday?
The first Thursday of every month.